as a continent has now defined ourselves. In the news, Kaduna abduction, kidnappers free Greenfield Varsity students. 87 killed and 191 injured as tribal violence escalates in Darfur. President signs new constitution into law. And in business, Okonjo-Iweala appoints 4 deputy DGs. And in sports, World Cup qualifiers, CAF approved 7 stadiums for Nigeria's 2022 home games. Details shortly. This is TOS Television, your digital first Pan-African news network. I'm Musa Isesala, and you're watching TOS News 360. An election monitoring, observation and evaluation body under the auspices of the Election Network in Abuja has decried massive irregularities, voter apathy, intimidation and disenfranchisement of electorates during the 2019 general election. According to a report filed by the Election Network, the 2019 elections were set back for Nigeria's electoral and democratic framework as over 80 million Nigerians reportedly collected voter cards from INEC, but only just 30% of those people voted during the elections, making it the lowest voter turnout in the history of Nigeria's democracy. TOS News correspondent Rose Aldo has the details to this report.
Speaking exclusively to TOS News, Azari Ndem said the 2019 elections were a setback for Nigeria's electoral and democratic framework.
2019 elections, there was a lot of what people described as voter apathy, but it was really voter fear. There was fear of intimidation, fear of violence, and we decided that it's not only hearing these numbers that that our leaders need to be hearing. They also need to see the human cost and put faces to the names or faces to the numbers that we're recording every day.
Also speaking in like vein with TOS News on the aim of the event, the group's program manager Farida Adamu said it is to understand why the election was marred by irregularities to enable them make submissions to policymakers on how this level of failure can be avoided in coming elections.
This is just us going on another level to engage with policymakers and decision makers to say that, one, the Electoral Act, the amendment bill, it needs to be enacted as soon as possible so that INEC is able to act as the independent body that it is to carry out its functions. And for other things like considering people that are disabled in the voting process, they shouldn't be an afterthought. When election planning is going on, they should think, okay, if a disabled person comes to this polling unit, how is the person going to vote? You know, issues like that are what we have raised in this documentary, and we hope that the people that are supposed to listen, and they implement the changes that we have suggested.
The Election Network team said what stood out the most in the election was violence, pointing that between 2003 and 2019, over 1,932 electoral violence-related deaths were recorded, with 626 of these deaths occurring in 2019 alone. Rose Audu, reporting for TOS News.
As the dreaded COVID-19 virus rages on, the Nigerian Center for Disease Control (NCDC) has recorded 34 new cases of COVID-19 in 3 states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory (FCT). The NCDC made the disclosure via its Twitter handle late Tuesday. According to the Health Center, of the 34 new cases, 19 were recorded in Enugu, Lagos 13, Kaduna 1, and FCT 1. The NCDC noted that the Tuesday report included data from Enugu State recorded between April 28 and May 3rd. It, however, noted that there was no recorded case of recovery from isolation centers across the country as at May 4th, saying the total number of recoveries remained 155,371. The federal government of Nigeria is set to cut down on salaries of civil servants and merge agencies with similar functions in its efforts to weather the rough economic storm it currently faces. The Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, who made this known in Abuja Tuesday at the National Policy Dialogue on Corruption and Cost of Governance in Nigeria, disclosed that President Muhammadu Buhari has directed the Salaries Committee to review payroll and also review the number of agencies. Kidnappers of the students and staff of the Greenfield University, Kasarami, Kaduna, have reportedly released one of the 17 students remaining in their custody. The bandits leader, Sani Idris Jalingo, had on Monday in an interview with a sister agency confirmed that 17 students, including 15 females and two males, were remaining in their custody after killing 5 penultimate week. Idris threatened the 17 students would be killed if 100 million naira and 10 Honda brand motorcycles, popularly known as Boko Haram, were not delivered to his gang as ransom by end of Tuesday, 4th May. The Chairman Senate Committee on Army, Senator Ali Ndume, who is representing Borno South, has raised an alarm over the resurgence of Boko Haram militancy in the northeastern states of Borno, Yobe, and Adamawa. Ndume raised the alarm while briefing reporters on a bill which seeks to establish a Federal College of Education, Goza, Borno State, sponsored by him, which had passed second reading on the floor of the Red Chamber. While lamenting the rising spate of insecurity in the country and especially the northeastern states, Senator Ndume notes that the resurgence of Boko Haram activities should not stop the establishment of more educational institutions in Borno South, which he said had existed without a higher institution of learning despite its size and population. This is your digital first Pan-African News Network, TS Television. You're watching TS News 360. More stories after the break. Welcome back. And again, the Ondo State Security Outfit, codenamed Amotekun, has sacked at least 137 northerners from the state's forest reserves. Those evicted were occupying the Legbeka Forest Reserves along Ifo-Owo Road. Speaking with newsmen in Akure, the state commander of Amotekun, Adetunji Adeleye, said their continued stay at the forest reserve was a security threat to the state. Adeleye said all the illegal forest occupants would be escorted out of the state to wherever they came from. As the world celebrates the 2021 World Asthma Day, health expert and president, Asthma and Chest Care Foundation, Professor Gregory Eraboha, said asthma affects about 339 million people annually, with over 500,000 hospitalizations and about 400,000 deaths across the globe. It was gathered that World Asthma Day is one of the world's long days held internationally on the first Tuesday of May every year. The professor said that the incidence of asthma had been rising progressively, and developing nations are currently contributing significantly to the increasing global burden of the disease. This year's Asthma Day has as its theme uncovering asthma misconception. And moving on to across Africa, Eritrea's president has arrived in Khartoum for talks with Sudanese officials amid tensions over a long-time border dispute between Sudan and Ethiopia. President Isaias Afwerki landed at Khartoum's International Airport and was received by General Abdel Fattah Burhan, head of Sudan's ruling Sovereign Council. The two-day visit is coming after Sudan in February accused a third party of siding with Ethiopia in its border dispute with Sudan. A U.S. delegation has arrived in Sudan to meet with its finance minister. Negotiations are ongoing between Egypt, Ethiopia, and Sudan, aimed at resolving a years-long dispute over the ground Ethiopia Renaissance Dam, Ethiopia being built on the Nile River's main tributary. During a press conference with Senator Chris Coons, Sudanese Finance Minister Gabriel Ibrahim said the U.S. senators are playing a role now in the issue of Renaissance Dam and the issue of borders between Sudan and Ethiopia. Moving on to news across the international scene, President Sadi Japarov has signed a new constitution into law, gaining expansive new powers for himself and diluting the authority of parliament. Dapurov put his signature to the document in a ceremony at the Al-Aqsa presidential residence in front of an audience including members of the legislature, representatives of the judiciary, officials from the cabinet, and other public figures. The new constitution was approved by almost 80% of voters at a referendum in April, although the turnout was only a modest 39%. This is your digital first Pan-African News Network TS Television. You're watching TS News 360. Do stay tuned. And now on the international scene, President Joe Biden has laid out plans to vaccinate 70% of U.S. adults by July 4 and roll out the shots for 12 to 15-year-olds as soon as possible. Biden's new goal includes having 160 million adults fully vaccinated by Independence Day. The target is well within reach, given that 105 million have already had COVID-19 jabs, and the U.S. is vaccinating nearly 1 million adults per day. Derek Chauvin, former white Minneapolis police officer convicted of the murder of the black man George Floyd, has requested a new trial. Chauvin's legal team have found court documents alleging misconduct by both prosecutors and jurors. Chauvin, who was captured on video kneeling on Floyd's neck for more than 9 minutes, was found guilty of murder and manslaughter. The rare verdict against the police officer was considered a milestone in the racial history of the U.S. and was widely applauded by Americans. Donald Trump has launched a new communications website which says it will publish content straight from the desk of the former U.S. president. Trump was banned by Twitter and suspended by Facebook and YouTube after the Capitol riots in January. The former president has since been releasing statements by press release, which the new website will now host. Users will be able to like posts and also share them on Twitter and Facebook accounts. Moving on to business, the African Development Bank and the International Fund for Agricultural Development, the Forum for Agricultural Research in Africa, and the Sea Gas System Organization have formed an alliance to address rising hunger on the continent. At a two-day high-level dialogue that focused on modernizing food production, the group observed that the impact of climate change, rising fragility, conflict, and low-cost invasions in East and Southern Africa are taking a toll on the continent's effort to tackle food insecurity. Finding solutions will require strong backing from governments, development partners, and the private sector. The Nigerian Exchange Limited halted 2 months pullbacks to close April on a positive note as investors' wealth soared by 418 billion naira in 1 month. The performance followed improved corporate earnings and renewed positive sentiments in blue chips. The benchmark index gained 2.02% to close the month at 39,834.42 basis points from 39,045.13 points posted on March 31st. Also, market capitalization for the month rose by 418 billion naira to close higher at 20,847 trillion. To close higher at 20.847 trillion naira from an opening value of 20.429 trillion naira. This is your digital first Pan-African network, TS Television. You're watching TS News 360. Welcome back. Still in business, the Director General of the World Trade Organization, WTO, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, has announced the appointment of Angela Ellard of the United States, Annabel Gonzalez of Costa Rica, Ambassador Jean-Marie Pogam of France, and Ambassador Xianchen Zhang of China as the 4 Deputy Directors General. In a statement posted on the WTO's website, the former Nigerian Finance Minister reiterated her commitment to strengthening the global trade body. Ellard, United States, has a distinguished career of service working at the U.S. Congress as Majority and Minority Chief Trade Counsel and Staff Director. She is internationally recognized as an expert on trade and international economic policy, negotiating trade agreements and supporting multilateral solutions as part of an effective trade and development policy. Moving on to entertainment, the Duchess of Sussex, Meghan Markle, has written her very first children's book titled The Bench, set to be published June 8th. The picture book, which will have its audiobook edition, narrated by Meghan Markle, was inspired by a poem she wrote for her husband, Prince Harry, on his first Father's Day month after their son, Aki, was born. The Bench explores the special relationship between father and son as seen through a mother's eyes. Meghan, who is expecting a second child with Prince Harry, said in the press release that described her as a mother, wife, feminist, and activist currently residing in her home state of California with her family, 2 dogs, and a growing flock of rescue chickens. The body behind the Golden Globes has drafted proposals that, if implemented, could see the embattled organization undergo transformational change. They include measures to recruit black members and increase its membership by 50% over the next 18 months. The Nollywood Foreign Press Association has been accused in recent months of discriminatory practices, accepting freebies and other ethical lapses. Its board said the criticisms had led to much-needed deep introspection. Now moving on to sports, in the women's 4x100-meter event, only 2 slots are available after the conclusion of the World Relays, and Brazil 15 and Nigeria 16 currently occupy those 2 positions based on World Athletics' top list of performances drawn from May 2019 till Monday, May 3, 2021. What this means is that the Nigerian team only needs to compete in more relay events, run faster than 43.05 seconds achieved in Doha in 2019, and stay ahead of some of its major competitors, which include Australia 17, Kazakhstan 18, Canada 19, and Ghana 20. The women's 4x400-meter team also has a great chance of qualifying based on the ranking and the quality of the nations who occupy the remaining 4 slots available for grabs after the World Relays. The team is ranked the 17th best behind Australia in 13th, 3.28.64, Switzerland in 14th, 3.29.15, India in 15th, and Dominican Republic in 16th. But Athletics watchers believe Nigeria, with the full complement of their team, can run at least 3.26 to move into 13th and qualify. CAF and FIFA have approved 7 stadiums in Nigeria to host the Super Eagles 2022 World Cup qualifiers home games. The stadiums are Nnamdi Azikiwe Stadium in Enugu, National Stadium Abuja, Adoke Amir Simwaka International Stadium in Port Harcourt. Others include the Stephen Keshi Stadium in Asaba, Teslim Balogun Stadium in Lagos, Samuel Ogbemudia Stadium in Benin, and Akwa Ibom International Stadium, Uyo. It remains to be seen which of these stadiums will host the 3 home games, but the Akwa Ibom International Stadium in Uyo is the favorite. The stadium has hosted a majority of Super Eagles games since 2015, including all of the 2018 World Cup qualifiers. However, the Teslim Balogun and Samuel Ogbemudia Stadium are also options, with both stadiums hosting Nigeria's last 2 games in the 2021 Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers. And that's the TOS News 360 on your digital first Pan-African News Network. For more updates, visit www.tostvnetwork.com. Do follow and like TOS Television Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And remember to subscribe on YouTube. Do stay with us and enjoy more programming on TOS Television Network. I'm Musa Zeh. Thanks for watching, and God bless you.
But we as a continent have now defined ourselves